University and received his PhD in oncology from the University of Wisconsin. His career in academia gave him expertise in virology, microbiology, cell biology, biochemistry, and biotechnology. He studied mechanisms of virus replication at the Howard Hughes Medical Institute and model systems of neurodegeneration at Vanderbilt University. Michael began his independent school teaching at the all-boys University School. In addition to teaching and department chair duties, he created a molecular biology research course in July 2013. He joined Stewart as its director of STEM programs. He also teaches several year-long and trimester STEM courses. Next on our panelist is Rose Newman. Rose, in her early years as a CPA in public accounting and KPMG, provided a solid foundation for her role as our director of financial operations. Rose has worked for 4 as the Stewart School. While taking time off to raise her family, she served as a founding trustee of Princeton Academy of the Sacred Heart. This role developed into that of full-time business officer of the Academy. Her leadership has been essential to business development of both schools. During her tenure, the Academy campus was purchased. She established accounting systems, personnel and benefits programs, assisted with enormous facilities growth for both schools, and developed reliable budgets and forecasts. Some of her recent highlights at Stewart include assisting the board with a new strategic financial plan, schedule and space study, and retiring of the debt. Among her many professional and personal volunteer activities, Rose serves as trustee of the Philadelphia Association of Independent Schools, a member of the accreditation team of the NJ Association of Independent Schools, and as an additional volunteer at Davidson College. Next on our panel list is Darren Malone. He is Stewart's new director of facilities and sustainable planning. He is a lead accredited professional with the United States Green Building Council and has spent the past 15 years managing architectural projects for noted Princeton architectural firms. His school experience is extensive and includes clients such as the Willow School and Princeton Academy and Sacred Heart. In his spare time, Darren serves as president of the board of directors of the Somerset Learning Institute. His volunteer service has also included membership on the William Trent House Museum Board, the Princeton Day School Building Committee, and manager and coach of the Princeton Tiger Lilies Girls Ice Hockey Team. Next, our next panelist is Forward Cloud Duke Weiser III. There. He started the Environmental Dynamics Group with a small group of partners in 1993 when they acquired the manufacturing operations of Engineering Dynamics Limited, EDL, of Carleton Place, Ontario. Duke has had a major role in development and refinement of modern electronic polarized media technology and instrumental in developing the company's cutting-edge products. Prior to forming EDG, Duke was involved in the application and installation of kinetic wind energy windmills in Oklahoma. He received his Bachelor's of Science degree from Bodine College in Brunswick, Maine. A true Sacred Heart family, Duke is currently serving on the Board of Trustees at Princeton Academy, where his son attended school. His daughter, Harriet, is Stewart. Next, Isabella. Turn around the way. Isabella Kovitz is a Stewart current student. Okay, a current Stewart student and a proud member of the class of 2016. She's a vocalist, actor, musician, and scholar. Like most of our girls, Isabella maintains a very busy schedule. She is taking AP and honors classes in bio, anatomy, physiology, and physics. She plays the flute and the piano and loves to sing. She's an arranger in school. That's wonderful. She has performed at a variety of venues from the Jet Stadium to Carnegie Hall. We are most proud of Isabella's outstanding record of service as you'll hear today when she describes the work she's done in PE. Last but not least, who will be our first speaker, is Jamie Wolf-Gray, class of 1994. She is a research scientist with the New Jersey Department of the Environmental Protection. She currently manages a team that integrates science and policy to develop a strategy for regional watershed management. Following Superstorm Sandy, Jamie played a leading role in environmental infrastructure recovery, rebuilding, and resiliency. Her prior work at the department focused on green job creation and pollution control legislation. Jamie received a bachelor's degree in biochemistry from Syracuse University and a master's from the Ohio State University in biochemistry, focusing on environmental remediation. She is a PhD candidate, which we commiserated among much about Westside in environmental science and policy studies at the New Jersey Institute of Technology. In true Stewart fashion, Jane has taken leadership roles in her volunteer and professional activities. She actively participates in the New Jersey DEP Speakers Program, was the founding chair of an environmental action group, has served on bike and pedestrian task forces at the local and county level, and used to be a volunteer bike mechanic at the Charter Boys and Girls Club Bike Exchange. Jane is a proud alumnus of the Stewart class in 1994 from the United Board of University.
So I love speaking about sustainability, which is my passion. When Leisha asked me to speak, she said, "Do you want to talk about your experience working for government?" Well, actually, what I did say was that I feel most qualified to speak about sustainability because not only have I tried to live it, but it's my passion and it's also my research. So I think, I'll take questions regarding my government role and things like that, but I think the points that I wanted to make is that sustainability is only one part of the picture, and I think beyond just trying to sustain our quality of life. One of the things that became very apparent to me in my research and working for government and just being a citizen is that things are not stable, and we can't try to create policies or make decisions assuming stability, and that's what we've done in the past. Our regulations, our policies on economic development is all assuming stable climate, stable global conditions, stable economics, and not flexible and not adaptable. And that's what we need to do. So I think the topic of my talk is sustainability enough, and I already know, and say that resilience is really what we should be focused on, which takes the principles of sustainability, it doesn't put it in the window, it takes the principles of sustainability, looking at things holistically from a social, economic, environmental standpoint, and puts in the fact that there are stressors and shocks and complex interactions within our living that has to be taken into account. So really important adaptability, flexibility, focusing on diversity, whether it's biodiversity, whether it's cultural diversity, whether it's educational diversity, all the things that Stewart focuses on. I look back in my career in Stewart and I did sports. I did set crew. I did community service, and I would never have that experience if I wasn't realize all those things that I'm awful at sports and not very good at arts either. So, but I enjoy the community service and I get to do that. So I one of the things that I was very passionate about when I was in our sustainability and energy office was educating for sustainability. And given the audience and our purpose for being here, I wanted to talk about that. Education starts at home, continues K through 12, and needs to continue. We're citizens and voters and have the purchasing power to make decisions to change how things are delivered to us and priorities. And so that education needs to include the knowledge and the awareness of the interconnections between our economic decisions, health, our environment, the availability of resources to continue our economic development. Going back to what I said before, we designed our energy policies and our economic development policies around the idea that the resources were abundant, that raw materials and the sources of our energy were going to be there continuously, and now that that's not the case. So knowing that everything is fleeting and we have to be able to adapt to that, and we have to change some of our economic policies. So awareness of interconnections and the complexity of systems, that every decision we make economically or socially has environment, and vice versa. Decisions we make on the environment and social impact of the economy. We have to be able to focus on those interconnections with that three-legged stool of sustainability, with the understanding that it's a complex world of unpredictable stressors. So again, the sustainability, ability to sustain what's our quality of life, but we have to realize that given finite resources and finite time, right? The other thing that I've realized from my dissertation research is that we have also designed our policies assuming that human ingenuity and engineering and drive is going to get us out of some of these things, and that's not the case. We can't keep building our way, fixing our way out of things. We have to change how we start, how we make decisions, so that we're not just constantly trying to catch up. That was something that I really faced from a professional standpoint after Irene and Sandy. As Patty was saying, after Sandy, we scrambled to figure out how we're going to, and at that time, I was already in the water resource program. So our largest resource we're inundated, not just with water, but loss of power. And that was not something we were prepared for. We had emergency plans for flooding and things that we thought we were going to have to deal with regarding Sandy. The problem with Sandy was loss of power and sustained loss of power. So again, it brings you back to the interconnection of things and noticing that you've got to have an energy strategy along with an environmental strategy, along with a water strategy, and seeing that. So that's something I've been leading up following Sandy was cross-agency work to do that our transportation and our energy and our water strategy regarding infrastructure needs to be combined. So then when we make decisions for new substations for electrical delivery, then we're also considering, microgrids to keep trains running and to keep the wastewater and the potable water plants open. I guess, the last thing that I wanted to touch on is what can we do as citizens, as educators, as voters, as parents. It really starts with asking the question, how much, what do I need? Is it enough? Can it be enough? And I'm just constantly always asking those questions, whether it comes down to consumption, the choices you make with where you're getting your energy from. Right? So New Jersey has the ability to buy 100% of your power from PSE&G or whoever your supplier from wind or solar, and you choose that portfolio. Make those choices. I made those choices when I bought our house, and both our apartment rental and our house is fuel by 100% wind, and that's New Jersey. That's getting its market. So making the choices, if you want alternative energy in the portfolio for the state, for this region, start buying it, because supply and demand, and demand is there, supply will come. been part of the problem with, from government standpoint, policy around our alternative energy portfolio and greenhouse gas reduction, is that demand's not there. So I would challenge everybody to back to your utility and say, I want to buy renewable sources. You know, purchasing. What do you buy and why do you buy it? Is it more important to buy organic? Is it more important to buy local? I would challenge it. Yeah, it's important to buy organic for the health of the environment as well as your own personal health. But if that organic is from Brazil, the greenhouse gases that's used to get it here. You know, those are the kinds of questions that we should be asking ourselves as citizens, as parents, and then as educators challenging students to think the same and to try to make a connection between things that they're learning in one classroom with another classroom. So things they're learning in history classes, tying that to why do these teachers have those questions? They believe the resources. What are you facing right now? You know, so challenging the things that they're learning in their math classes and STEM classes and with their sciences. So much to learn from all of our disciplines. So that's the bottom line of the message I want to make is remember that everything is connected and that when you pull one place, this is why I love diagrams, you pull one place and you get outcomes that are.
Thank you, Jamie, for getting us started this afternoon. What I would like to do in my time this afternoon is expand on Jamie's idea of what do we do as educators to make our students ask these questions. How do we educate them in knowing what is sustainable courses they're growing up. So what I'd like to do today is show you several examples of how we are currently using the idea of sustainability in our classrooms. And one great thing that we do have is good, as Mr. Malone will talk about in a second, we have a beautiful campus. The school I taught in Memphis, it's very similar to this, except for most of the land looks like the very top. Completely, no trees left, a few trees scattered, and that was kind of depressing to me, but the fact that we have a beautiful campus like this is really helps us to really address the rules and what's going on. So let me just go through a few examples of what we're doing already. And again, these are examples. There are many examples at different grade levels that we're doing, but this should give you a feeling for what. So one of the most obvious places for us to teach about sustainability is in our courses. And AP Environmental Science, the course that we teach here. Anybody take AP Environmental Science before here? So it was offered. I think 1999 was the first year it was offered. I'm lucky enough to get to teach it for the first time this year. I have taught it at the college level. It's different from me at the high school level. But first time, we take girls out to our woods and we show them how to do transects within a biodiversity. These girls here are measuring the height of trees. The students are very good with professional development opportunities for us. And this is a workshop I was at this summer where this gentleman actually, I can't remember the exact species names, but he actually grows these beetles that basically eat invasive species. And he keeps them in his car. And he's driving down the road and he sees the field of this invasive species. I think it's but anyway, he'll dump them out of his car. So that's his contribution to invasive species. We also, as we are taking on our study initiative here at Stewart, we are doing a lot of engineering design. And these pictures here are an example of the 6th grade class where they are actually engineering wind turbines. On the left, we've been out designing them. They actually build part of the wind source. And as you can see, things been pretty good as we're here. We connect that with the production of electricity. And you see that that is one way that we, in science class, begin to let them make connections between wind, electricity, sustainability. And we also take this to other curriculums, such as mentioned, literature. So at the same time, the girls are studying meteorology, building wind turbines, they're also working with their English teachers to write cloud drills, going outside, describing in really great detail about what clouds look like. But in art class, we have them design kites. So they are able to understand wind currents, the design of a kite, and also show their artwork. So in the classroom is a very obvious way for us to be able to introduce our girls to sustainability. We are involved in academic competitions that deal with environment and environmental sustainability. This particular picture is from our trip last spring to the marathon competition, which is a situation where the girls just go around 8 different stations, ask questions, and do various things, do with environmental science to compete with about 50 other schools in the area. So here's our team, very young team, freshmen and sophomores, grassroots with a little bottom here, please. As you can see, students from all over New Jersey competing, and then the girls seem to have some fun. We're doing a lot of field trips. Here are 3 different examples of field trips that the girls have participated in this year. On the left, this is a great trip to Amish country to understand what it is to be a sustainable farm. On the upper right corner, is us visiting the Lawrenceville solar farm. You'll hear a little bit more about that from Isabella here in a minute about the PBL that we also did. And Dr. Solo is the mentor of our Future Cities competition. And down in the bottom right is our trip to Manhattan using various forms of transportation. So the Future Cities competition last year, the theme was transportation. So we boarded a bus at Princeton Shopping Center, got to the Dinky, Jersey Transit, to Newark, we took the path into New York City, came back out, did small rail in Jersey City, and we were 4 hours away from getting home. I think we made the point to our girls that mass transit, even though it's really nice in the Northeast, is not always reliable. So that was an interesting trip for them, and these are mostly 6th and 7th graders. Workshops. This is an example of a workshop that we went to in the spring again, in conjunction with what Isabella will tell you about later. This was up at Farley, Fairleigh College, where there was a water conference where the girls were participating in various activities, brainstorming activities with other groups from other schools, and they were able to carry 50 pounds of water. And you also did some what it's like in other countries where you don't have access to running water. So that is an interesting fact of adventure. And if you want to educate students about sustainability, the outdoors is one of the best places to do it. So we already have a lot of areas here on campus that we actually can take the girls outside. What you're looking at in the 2 on the left and on the right is our ropes course. This was a workshop we had in summer where non-steward girls come in and see what steward is about, and they really love the ropes course. Down here on the bottom right is the Townsend Garden, which is recently renovated a couple of years ago, and the occupancy classes out there. Just getting outside, being in the fresh air has something to do with making it more sustainable. Again, more pictures of the road course, opportunities for leadership through the teaching sustainability on the left. They're all plotting how we're going to accomplish this next low roads course. And you can see, obviously, able to sophomore years as pretty concentrated. A lot of teachers around are asking for more outdoor classrooms. They really like taking their students outside. And these range from anything from the far left, being just benches, to areas on the right, covered classrooms, or just outside experience. And we also had ideas in the future to do this inside. So both AP Biology, AP Environmental Science are going more toward long-term data collection. So we'd like to get our girls involved in projects where they can collect data for long periods of time. And obviously, it's older, can't do that outside of the room. So there has been some discussion with some of the classes about maybe these classrooms. So again, those are examples of what we are doing here. There are examples of similar examples at each grade level, other things that have been done, but I think we're really trying to get the girls to understand about the world and in the area. So okay. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, and welcome back to Stewart. In addition to my role as Director of Finance and Operations at the Stewart, I'm also the proud mother of 2 Stewart alums class 2011 and Olivia class of 2013. And they would want you to know that they're Stewart lifers, having attended Stewart since the preschool. I love my position here at Stewart because I believe it allows me not only the opportunity to be responsible for the financial resources of the school, but also it allows me to take responsibility for the budgeting and allocation of resources for this beautiful facility. And I think this leads me to look at financial decisions in an integrated way. One of our primary operating costs after our instructional program is our facility. Stewart's a big place and relies on energy to run our gorgeous campus and the technology house. And as a Sacred Heart school, being good stewards of the earth's resources is primary. This challenged us to undertake a project that we call retro commissioning and also conducting an energy audit. The retro commissioning piece meant that we identified each piece of our heating and cooling equipment here on campus, and then we actually went to see if they were operating the way they needed to be operating, and made decisions about what might need to be replaced so that we can function in a more energy efficient manner. And this resulted in a project totaling about $40,000. And I just wanted to show you the summary of these projects. What actually was exciting to us is that we challenged ourselves to take part of the New Jersey paper for clean energy program. And as a result, projects that would have costed us $450,000 actually ended up costing $225,000. And the also exciting part is obviously once you've made decisions to save on your consumption, that's an annual payback. So 90,000, we projected about 90,000 annual energy savings. And that's obviously is hugely exciting for us and gives us the opportunity to reduce our energy close to 30%. I have a few charts here that will show you kind of how our energy reduction has happened over the course of time here. I think what's also exciting is a lot of these improvements were done and also improve the overall quality of the student experience. One of the things we're happiest about is the preschool, junior, kindergarten receive state-of-the-art heating and cooling systems, and that was a first in 50 years of the preschool JK to actually air conditioning. Additionally, occupancy sensors were installed in each classroom. Daylight sensors were installed in places where it would work. For example, if you were to walk out from the Serpentine Color to the Sea Corridor on a beautiful sunny day, the light will just go off and we'll be taking it down to daylight. And on the daylight today, will actually be lit. So that opportunity to really take advantage of the light has been a tremendous addition. I think one of the biggest things that we've been able to do is install a building automation system. And what this allows us to do is basically log into Stewart's heating and cooling system to see what our heating and cooling set points are, and then at the click of a button, adjust and set scheduling programs for vacations and holidays. We're constantly working to see if we can adjust even by half-hour increments so as to continually limit our consumption. The proof I think that is working is in these charts. It's very exciting for us to know that from a month-to-month and year-to-year basis over the past 3 years, we continue to reduce our consumption, and we project we will continue to do so well into the future. The also exciting thing I believe for us is that the faculty, staff, and students are well aware and excited about energy reduction. In addition to the academic competitions, we've also successfully competed in the Green Cup Challenge over the past past 2 years. A terrific competition among independent schools during the month of February, where we all work to see if we can beat each other in reducing our weekly energy consumption in the area of electricity. And I'm proud to say in our first year, we were among the top 10 of independent schools competing for the greatest reduction in consumption. I think we're going to do it again this year, and if not this year, next year, next year, next year. It's a really exciting and very visual way of getting excited about what we're doing here. Firstly, I'm also very happy that I've been able to share our success story. Not only amongst our peers here locally, but also on the state level. We presented our results in New Jersey Association of Independent Schools, and we also have enjoyed watching our partners, Stonehouse Group, share our news on the national level. There's no doubt that these are complicated times and facilities. I think Jamie alluded to that. We really need to think about how we do business in a very different way. I think it requires sophisticated thinking and a new way of looking at our stewardship of this great latitude building, and we need to do that for generations to come. So I'm very pleased that joining the steward in this effort is our very good addition here, our local director of facilities and sustainable plan. I love saying that. So thank you everybody for coming today. Darren, turn it over to you.
Good afternoon. As Rose mentioned, I'm Darren Moon, the Director of Facilities and Sustainable Planning here. I can't claim to be a lifer at Stewart. I've been here since July 1st, but in that time, in a short amount of time, I've already come to admire and love really all things Stewart. I learned yesterday, year to year. My background is an architect. I've been practicing architecture for quite a long time, and I've been very fortunate that I've had the opportunity to work in independent schools and have had the opportunity to focus on sustainable design, really near the beginning of what was the U.S. Green Building Council's living program. I've seen over the course of what's really 12 years now, 13 years, a significant shift in the awareness and support, not only from the consumer, from the clients, from the schools, boards, trustees, et cetera, faculty, but one of the most profound things that occurred through the WEEK program was that the manufacturing and supply process began to change to address sustainable issues. It's actually gotten to the point where it's flooded with people in the planes that aren't altogether the most appropriate, we call it greenwashing, but nonetheless, there's been a tremendous shift towards the overall economic environment and supply chain environment moving in a sustainable direction. My first visit to Stewart was, I think, in May of this year. I've been up and down the Great Road for God knows how long, and it never actually turned into the Stewart. Rose gave me a tour, and after the tour, I immediately called a friend, a colleague, and another practitioner that I admire quite a bit, and said, "You would not believe how special this place is. This place does things that we've been trying to get our clients to do 15 years." Overall, what I'd like to do is make the point that Stewart has a lot of success in the way things currently operate, and certainly in the way that this building and the grounds were designed by John Lavatou and stewarded over the last 50 years. There's a tremendous amount to be proud of here. There is also, because of the way it's been set up, a tremendous amount of opportunity for future success, and the fact that it gets to be integrated with a faculty, like faculty, and like student body is really a remarkable opportunity. This slide to me tells an incredible story. I think if you were to look at 90% of the schools that have been developed around the country, everything that's green trees would be cut fields, parking areas, and turf fields. In this case, you can barely even distinguish what we have for parking. There's a very limited amount of service for the turf field, and the building integrates just wonderfully, creates all kinds of sort of microclimates and micro conditions outside. It's really pretty remarkable. In my role here, which is really to bring a facilities point of view to the table, what I'd like to do is take part in a process that provides an opportunity to approach sustainability in an integrated fashion that solicits, incorporates feedback from stakeholders at the inception of each project or process. So a project you think of as renovations, additions, things like that. There's a whole host of processes that take place here, from recycling programs to food service to a new academic initiative that can to benefit from this stakeholder process. I'd like to think of it in terms of, for a very long time, we've done things in a linear fashion. Decisions are made in the beginning and they're passed down the chain, and somebody with a great idea further down the chain can't make a change because too much resources already gone into that decision. If we can get these stakeholder interfaces taking place here and everywhere else, like Jamie's talking about, it's more of a honeycomb. It's a bunch of interconnected ideas, and frankly, the 22-year-old just graduated with a master's in college who would never get the opportunity to speak at the first meeting, but has the most current ideas about the way something takes place, gets to actually influence that process. Here at Stewart, that includes the boards of trustees and the broader community of alumni and parents. It includes the faculty and their curriculum, the academic strategic plan. It obviously includes the students. It's very cool that there's a student who's going to talk to us here today. It also includes food service. I'm going to briefly mention something about our success in food service. And obviously, it deals with facilities, and within facilities, what we expect our consultants and suppliers to provide services to us here. As I said, in my role dealing with the business plan, I tend to take on the role of stakeholder for things that are facilities related. But the integrated process does require that I open my eyes and ears to hear what's Mike talking about. I've heard things that he just mentioned today that I thought, oh, I wish I could go back and sort of rewrite some of these things that I'm talking about because they relate to facilities, and then I can help support him. Or likewise, with development, if there are ideas or things that I can help take part in, guess what? That might be more money for us to actually do all this kind of stuff too. So I really like to stress that what we'll try to do is keep our eyes and ears open so that maximize the potential for each process. Then I'd like to talk about researching as a group, again, not as a consultant like I used to be, or as a director of facilities, but as a member of a team that includes the faculty and students and all those stakeholders. Ways we can research and implement the ways that we can achieve not just greater degrees of sustainability, like Jamie was saying, but instead that regenerative approach that she was talking about. Our grounds look incredible, but if you can actually conduct a study on the health of these ecosystems, it is not quite as healthy as we really think it is. And that isn't something to be depressed about. It's something to be excited about in the school environment, because you've got these students, incredible students, who will learn at an early age the difference between what looks healthy and what is healthy. The other thing we've got sort of coming from the architectural background in our schools that enable us to sort of measure success in the architectural world or the built environment. The U.S. Green Building Council's LEED rating system provides a framework that I'm accustomed to working with that I can look at and sort of begin to distinguish the components of what our physical plans and our facilities are, and start to make plans for how we can improve those things, or set standards such that when we do work, that work meets what we want it to be, not with somebody from the outside who's just trying to sort of maximize their profits as a consultant might want to give us. The USGBC also likes to say the greenest buildings are those who are already there. At Stewart, we're really lucky. We have not only an architecturally significant building, but we've got one that is built with durable materials and is interwoven into the site in such ways that very, very few buildings, particularly on the East Coast, are. Stewart is 51 years old, as I understand it, certainly after the 50th event last year. The next photo, I'll actually jump on ahead. This photograph takes a picture of things that are original to this building. The concrete structure, the storefront window systems, the green brick from the looks of mine, although Grayson County too, but this is original. This has not been maintained, has not been scraped and painted and changed. And these materials, while some of them might need to be refurbished and brought up to the current standard, that is 51 years at least of use out of a product shows incredibly thoughtful thinking 50 years ago and sets the model for how we should think about decisions that we make. Very hard because money is also a finite resource. But if you take a look at the big picture, these things pay for themselves in the long run. We make short-term decisions. Guess what? The Board of Trustees, 7 years down the road, is now faced with the task of how do you come up with the money to do repairs and maintenance that we made that decision early on. So, taking one step back, success stories that do occur here, in addition to the durable materials I just mentioned. This campus is really lovely as it relates to light pollution. This is our entry product. We've got downlights that also function as signage. It's interwoven into a relatively natural environment, free right up on the road. I would assume that the neighbors prefer us to many other schools. I live near public school in Pennsylvania, and I say it's like the U.S. Navy Yard next door. It's incredible how much light can go in that place. This slide actually gives us an idea of how little of an effect we have on what's called heat island, how much our development is affecting the kind of immediately local, the microcosm around us. We've got such limited amount of surface area that's actually causing the production of additional heat from solar radiation. This is another example of durable materials, more original components of the building. And this, frankly, is perhaps my favorite part of the slide doesn't show it all that well, but the daylight reviews, another component of this kind of design work is what's the environment like, not only on the outside of the building, but what's it like for the people that use the building on the inside? That's one place that this school is tremendously successful, is that students and, importantly, faculty and staff perform better in places with daylight review. It makes you less likely to feel run down at the end of the day, to feel sort of beaten down at the end of the day. It makes you less likely to what's the term I'm looking for? You want to come to work, you want to come to school, you come to an environment that's inviting and encouraging. There are, however, some things that we can do that can become projects that show us improvement. These are, again, opportunities to involve our faculty and staff and improve Stewart's environment and improve Stewart's leadership in the overall independent school environment. Our parking lots are incredible. In fact, they lead into the environment, as I said. However, we still channel stormwater runoff and focus it into environments where we have some problems with drainage. A simple solution becomes a wonderful time to the curriculum, which is that we can install these sort of educated swales, they're called, where we channel water and create little sort of micro drainage systems that filter the water, filter the sediment out of the water, and also provide for really what looks like a healthy, it is a healthy sort of local system. Whether the school decides to move into renewable energy, on-site renewable energy in the future, or not, obviously this would suggest that it moves a big way, but take one of these and create a project for the science department that perhaps offsets something we do here, but also provides the opportunity for the students. Similarly, with the green roof, this building I've heard over the time I've been here has been talked about as a candidate for a green roof. Some issues that exist here. Again, a green roof is a wonderful opportunity to exhibit not only solutions that offset other conditions that the economic effect that we might cause here, but again, tying into the curriculum and opportunities to teach students new ways. So, really, I think, again, just to go back to my initial comment, this place is remarkable. It affords incredible opportunities for the students to see the way good decisions have been modeled in the past, and provides an incredible opportunity for us to model and participate with them in the modeling. So, thank you very much.
I think this is the biggest screen I've ever seen. I'm excited about that. I'm June Weiser. I have a daughter here. I have a son. I was chair of the building project committee over there. 80% and one of the great things when you have buildings is, in schools, you get to teach stuff, but you also get to use it. So we were going to basically gut those buildings, and so we wanted to do that with the future of energy. And we worked with Bob Harris, who were And they, as a class project, they will take a building and model it for energy and wastewater and reuse and all that good stuff. And so here's your laundry list of things you can do. And we would advise. And at the top of the list of things to do was cheaper. And buildings in general use 70% of the energy. And heating and cooling those buildings is about 50%. So that's a lot of energy. So you want to do that line. So geothermal is pretty simple, really. So I'm going to talk specifically about what we did there and what we did and what people do elsewhere. Geothermal relies on the fact that if you go down in this part of the world 10 feet and for a few hundred feet down, ground is 55 degrees, and which is the ideal temperature for cooling air in the summer. And in the winter, you can use physics and make the 55-degree water 100%, which is a pretty good temperature. And so what you do is do a big field of pipes that run through the ground. You circulate water through those. It's basically you're turning the ground into a big sand. So in the summer, you send relatively hot water out into that field and it comes back 5 degrees. In the winter, you send relatively cold water out into that field and it comes back. And interestingly, the Princeton Academy is just a mile from here. We sit on a big Brandon Ridge, just as I think you guys do. And you think it would be kind of a pain in the neck, but really it was actually not that bad. It's much better. So that's not dissimilar from what we did. This is, I don't know if you can see that. That's the that's the bore field pattern that we did at Princeton Academy. And you can see for those of you familiar with campus up above, sort of the main academic building, the manor house here. And that's what bore fields were. Those are the economics that Bob Harris had put together for us. And so that was looking at, we were also fortunate that building didn't have air conditioning. We didn't have systems really to upgrade. It was an old, some complex. And it had, old radiators. And some inflow heating. So we were kind of starting with clean slate. This is comparing, the most efficient sort of traditional system to geothermal system. Yeah, long story short, we were going to save upwards of 100,000 kilowatt hours a year. The only adder for this kind of system, really, from a standpoint, is that is the field, and so you've got to drill down. That was not insignificant. But at a school or an institution or an owner-occupied building, you're looking at a longer horizon, right? You're going to save 15 or 20 grand on spending with the extra work. And that's what the work field looked like. And it was right in the heart of campus. And we tore it all up. But so you never know if it's there. You can put it under a parking lot. You can put it as well. But the economics of it makes sense. It makes sense from a sustainability standpoint. It would be consistent with Sacred Heart goals, doing more with less. And it was a great idea. The systems worked great. So this has been fun and air conditioning. And our electric bills, we copied a lot of them. Our electric bills, if anything, probably.
Hi, I'm Isabella Lucas, and I'm going to present to you today
about the PBL project that we did during this year. Here we go. So first off, before I jump into the actual project, I should give you guys some background on what exactly is PBL and SHAPE. OMG, it's a lot of acronyms, right? Anyway, PBL stands for Project-Based Learning, and SHAPE is Sacred Heart Academic Exchange Program. Basically, the sophomore curriculum includes 2 weeks in it, in which girls can choose to go on exchange to a Sacred Heart school pretty much anywhere in the world. This year, we had 21 girls participate, and they went to 10 different schools in 7 different countries. For those of us who are not currently on exchange during those 2 weeks, we were involved in PBL. This year, our PBL is focused on environmental sustainability. Every year, we draw a purpose that comes from a social global issue. Usually those are drawn from the UN Millennium Goals. This year, we focused on Millennium Goal 7, which is all about environmental sustainability. And our project accumulated in building 2 solar suitcases. I'll get back and explain exactly what those are in just a minute. Basically, we came in, and for the first few days, we had workshops and classes on energy, sustainable environments, solar power, and electricity. We took some field trips, like Dr. Schwartz mentioned earlier, to Lawrenceville School and Fairleigh Dickinson University to see environmental sustainability in action. Then, after a few days of learning what exactly we were doing, we were introduced to the concept of solar suitcases. Solar suitcases pretty much are what they sound like. They're plastic suitcases about this big. You can see in the project they're being assembled. And they contain 2 solar panels, a switchboard, and outlets for light bulbs and phone chargers. These solar suitcases were developed by Dr. Hal Aronson and his wife, Dr. Laura Stachel. The goal of these solar suitcases was to bring light and energy to places that don't have a constant supply of electricity, specifically to hospitals and to schools. So, after a few days of workshops and planning and actually video chatting with the creator, Hal Aronson, we set out to actually build these solar suitcases. While they're a little more complicated to build than IKEA furniture, it's the same idea. You get the kit with all the wires and the parts and an instruction manual, and you're told, go at it. So here you can see we're playing with the wiring, trying to set up a switchboard, trying not to electrocute ourselves or anyone else. And at the end of 2 days of really intense work, we had finally accomplished building these solar suitcases. When we went to go test them out, we took the solar suitcase into a dark room and turned on the switch, and the light bulb lit up. I don't think I've ever seen teenage girls so excited about a light bulb, but it was really worth it. So, these solar suitcases, what we're going to do with them in the future, or what we did with them rather, was bring them down to Haiti. Now, why to Haiti, you might ask? Well, it's because we already have connections with schools there. See, one current Stewart teacher and a former Stewart teacher had set up an organization called Connecting, which is all about bringing education to Haiti. And over the course of the last several years, there have been several Stewart girls and teachers, as well as other people from around the community, that have gone down to Haiti to set up with founding and building new schools. Our solar suitcases were put into an orphanage and to a school. And in the school, Madame Obono, our French teacher, who is part of the organization, had actually had a big hand in setting up the curriculum and is inspired by Stewart girls who went down there. So our solar suitcases were eventually installed in Haiti this past summer. And now they're there making a real difference and bringing light and safety that enables kids to study safely while after the sun goes down in a school and in an orphanage in Haiti. And it's doing so in an environmentally friendly way. So, over the course of these 2 weeks that we spent on project-based learning, we got to build these amazing solar suitcases and learn about environmental sustainability and solar panels in the future, and how we can really implement it here in our community. Thank you.
So if all the panelists would like to come up on stage, and we have some questions from our audience, and we have a few minutes here to do it. Questions?
Jamie, could you talk a little bit, I talked with Jamie last night at a gathering for moms, actually at the north. But we had a great conversation. I thought you brought up something really interesting. I come from the Midwest where we're getting a lot of flooding in the Mississippi River. And some of the things that the Corps of Engineers have done to, alleviate some of that is the building of significant levees. And where I come from, that's a big plus. If you build levees, people are happy with you because then they can be sure that their businesses and their homes aren't going to flood. But I thought you had some interesting insights about levee building that you might want to share.
So my dissertation research is on understanding locals' perception of coastal hazard. And the reason I started studying that was because of my experience working for the government and growing up in Jersey Shore, that we somehow have this false notion that we are way out of hazards, and that we just can continue to build and not consider any consequences or the fact that our problems are not linear, complex. So engineers, they, a lot of practitioners, they what's the problem, and what's the solution, linear, and don't think about all the other things that can happen. In New Jersey, so I started in research in Louisiana, and then that was fascinating to see how the choices being made down there, engineering-wise, were to protect the economic investments, the oil and gas industry, and had secondary impact on the fishing industry. But the fishing industry was fine with it because the bread and butter, on the off season was oil and gas industry. So just fascinating how we make decisions for immediate return on our investments without thinking of long-term consequences. Long-term consequences for what happened. Katrina was not a natural hazard. It was a real environment. It was the centuries of manipulating the environment and landscape down there, of putting in levees, redirecting the Mississippi, and then how we dealt with Lake Constantine. So that's forgotten. So and same thing with Sandy. The impacts of Sandy we were not prepared to really do investment thinking that this is going to happen. But we don't know what is going to happen. So why don't we make decisions with a little bit more of a uncertainty, cautionary principle guidance. And you're starting to do that with the U.S. So, I would challenge, all of us, and I've sat down here and we're starting to get it, but their decisions on how they spend federal dollars come from local stakeholders, local governments, and New Jersey has such a complicated system for local. We've got, you think of municipalities on the coast, there's no regional commission for the coast. So all the municipalities, Bay Head and Logan, don't make joint decisions. So Bay Head doesn't want seawall, but Logan does. Well, how does that impact the coastal hazard? It's going to be a huge coastal hazard. Of the wave energy coming into a seawall is going to send effects down the coast to Ortley and to Bay Head that it frustrates me to come to working for the government and not being able to have a voice because it comes down to local understanding, local decision making, and understanding that we can't keep building our way So that's what I'm studying in my research. I know that natural infrastructure does it a lot better. The beauty of nature is that it thrives on service. That's how we want, right? Not those systems, not our engineering system. Our engineering systems are predictability. So why don't we let nature do what nature tends to do, which is deal with the unpredictability of our. So that's something that I'm really focused on. I really hope to get some insight and information on how we start changing Google behaviors.
Geothermal looks pretty good. How prevalent is it, and why not more so?
It's growing really quickly. I mean, so, universities down in Alumnae, for example. Some of it depends, the relative cost, again, depends upon what's your existing infrastructure, right? So you can throw out everything you've got, start over. That doesn't. We were fortunate that we had to make reserve, so obsolete much better. So it is different equipment, the equipment, the heating and cooling systems themselves, which but yeah, no, it's the geothermal industry as a whole is.
How far down do you drill?
Now we went down. Don't quote me, but we went down. So we went down the length. Basically, you're limited by the length. You don't want any wells in your pipe, and so we sort of make it the depth of a whole pipe. So,
I heard the very
I mean, I guess now you're talking like fracking kind of stuff. I don't think that that's an issue there, because again, we're sitting on the top of the big granite mountain. So I don't think 48 holes are this big for as much as I mean, there's space for parking, so they're 30 feet apart. And so they're not big, they're not big holes. So.
point that the system impacts are great temperature change and affects the
No, you can't. This is all happening 200 feet down. You're not, the ground, the ground temperature variations on the first 3 feet of ground, those still happen when they do ground conditions. Right. So that all happens just normal. So you really have to go, you're taking down below that, below the seasonal change. So you don't see anything. It's not like our lawn is green. Otherwise, we would better driveways. So you don't really see it.
What happens over time in this
The pipe is it's a plastic pipe that theoretically lasts forever, but so we'll see. It's not a metal pipe. I mean, I don't know that the systems have been in long enough to be replaced with that kind of pipe. But at the same time, it might be used for gas lines and other applications. I think probably by the time that there's out, we should fully appreciate it.
What is a system that has a
Yeah, basically, it's got a big black ball on it.
is there any problems with the
No, because again, that's why you go down, so you have them seams, at least in all of your loops. The system, the pressure of the system is constantly monitored. So.
So if they have a leak,
We'd be able to.
we can out and
Yeah.
do have young children. Obviously, recycling is something that's ingrained in their head at this point. But I know with my children's school, we do the initiative of bringing reusable, so using baggies for sandwiches, use plastic and all that kind of stuff. Just wondering, any other suggestions you might have, to really get it from the get-go, to be part of the vernacular of going green. Aside from going local, that's a huge thing.
I think one of the things that Michael and I have talked about is that there also needs to be support systems in place. So somebody that wants to do the right thing doesn't have support systems around you to do the right thing. You're fighting against yourself with that. So I think part of it is beyond your control to be an advocate for things to be implemented in broad scale. But certainly on our end, I think that the efforts are to create an environment and a series of supports for maximizing people like your children to be successful. The last thing we want to do is have some people who want to do that sort of thing and feel defeated before they get a chance.
I was going to add to that by saying what I've seen here at Stewart that I think is most successful in our company projects, but there have been times where the students and their environmental forces have worked on a project and then faculty member brought it to our attention. So I'm thinking of one very specifically where the girls had, previous to our dining program being a sustainable model, they had studied themselves the trash that gets accumulated from folks using cardboard containers. And so they had done this amazing study, I haven't, if anybody wants to see it, where they had measured for a period of time how much trash got generated, figured out how much labor it takes to remove the trash, and then he went to the next step of pricing what it costs to remove the trash from campus. And basically came forward and said, if you were to put a milk machine in place, you would more than pay for that milk machine and you would not have all this disposal. And we were not able to immediately act on that, because we didn't have the infrastructure here yet to deal with it. But then about 3 years ago, Stewart had undertaken a review services for dining. One of the criteria that was put in the RFP was we are moving to a completely sustainable operation. And we would move to China and reusable plastic and silverware, and I don't know if you noticed it in the dining room, I don't know if you guys were out today. But we have crafted with Terrence help these amazing recycling stations. We have milk machine. So you don't know how much I run around the girls in my class when they're all graduating now. I want them to come back and like get glasses of milk and say, you may not have seen it immediately, but eventually your thoughts were incorporated into decision making. And so I guess as parents to say we have to be patient enough to let the girls in. And that's a real challenge in the school environment because every single person here could take over and do it for them, but it wouldn't have been the same experience. So I think exactly right. They led with the idea, they came to a board of trustees and presented it, and then we put it into operation. And that took about 3 years. It could have taken me 3 minutes, but they would have lost something in the process. So I think that's something I'm constantly reminded of here is to give the girls that chance and to not pretend they we just want to do it. You can do it, let's do it. That's not right. These girls have just done it, have you taken over it wouldn't have been the same beautiful experience. I guess that's what I would say. Just let them do it, and they will.
The only thing that I would add is asking questions of where to come from, where to go. Because kids, unless their parents work as an engineer to know another, or their septic system that's not into that route. Or where's it coming from? Mom, I want that sunshine. Well, so, you know how much it takes. There's lots of infographics on the internet of like food shows and like showing like this is your dinner. This is where it came from. Here's all the energy and all the materials and everything that came from. So it's asking that, and then also like thinking about those like secondary facts. If I do this then, or what if? And those are the things that keep fighting. Why? So let them ask us questions why. Why do we stupid Americans do run things away, buying more, buying more, like, we change.
I think we can provide them the opportunities to provide them and avoid, especially with girls, avoid. You don't give them something that they get. Everybody wants, they'll shut it down.
Add to that, the fact that I feel there's a little bit of fear factor going on. Among the younger generations, just because like, we install the whole house generator because we use power now all the time. And you know, growing up in this area, we lost power for more than 3 hours my entire youth. And so it's hard to balance. Like we went to the International Park this summer, and there those wishes were gone by 20. We're saying like 2020 or 2025. So, you know, to have my children standing there and say, you are 13, this is not even going to be here. Like, I mean, that's just like, so I don't know. So it is hard as a parent too to like sort of acknowledge that yes, candy happened, like our beach is gone. It, you know, they don't really grasp it, and yet make decisions now. So anyway, I just hope I'm very thankful to all of you for continuing the conversation because it's just so easy to get complacent and be like, oh, those are the organic people. I love that you're saying that because, you know, you're at the grocery store, you have a finite amount of money, and you're like, it's not organic.
I was running in by something in a box.
But it's better.
You know, like, it's all tasted and
Yeah, right? I think people like lost sometimes in the motion of trying
like greenwashing.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah, well, it's all-
that's where it really comes down to. You don't let somebody else tell you what's the right environment. Make your decisions based on asking.
I think we have maybe one more quick question, and then move on to the next one.
Thank you for the comments for being here. It's impressive to see who's being done at the school and supportive of the efforts. A lot of it was not aware tonight, so it's been really helpful. And then similarly, what I think is very interesting is really and what they're doing today. I think one of the unique things about school is to educate our students to ask those questions in life, that critical thought process. While I'm not in the environmental industry and in finance, managing complex systems, and we talk about that too. And back in the crisis in 08, what's being done now and the secular non-profit that. And I think that thought process, measuring the ability to quickly, is really what's going to make a difference in our industry. So I think it's just incredible to know to
One comment on that is, I think it's very good what you just mentioned about and using terminology that's similar, but means different things. But those things still relate to what that terminology means somewhere else. And too often, if we work in parallel with each other, you don't realize where they're interconnected. I was first made aware that I worked with 10,000 villages. And sustainability was an integral part of 10,000 villages. Mission statement. And yet they saw that completely differently than I saw the term. And yet they were completely appropriate to each other and could work together to achieve that. So the way I saw sustainability could actually feed into their vision and mission statement and help them not only make decisions regarding the facility, but could actually influence some of the ways that they then broaden their statements. And likewise, they did that for me. So I think what you touched on is really true, and that happens through communication. You don't communicate, you don't look for those connections, you're not that every once in a while.
Well, we just want to thank the parents for the day and sharing what they have learned with us. And I want to thank Alumnae for being here with us today as well. And with that, we just have a little gift to each of you for giving the gift to us of this information.
But I really think about that. Next time, things together, I just work out in the right direction. And hopefully we'll run my office. Okay,